of your own destiny. You're looking, your eyeballs are always looking. You're looking over your shoulder, your weapons at the ready. It's the same thing to descent. We were in control. If we had a problem, we were looking to remedy the problem or get out of it, but we were in control of our own destiny. The ascent, in our case, 3 days later, people say, "Do you ever worry about getting off the moon?" I said, you don't. No. Once you bite the bullet, you're there. Get the work done and enjoy it. 3 days later, comes time to leave, and you get ready. Once you know you have to leave, and we had to because no more oxygen, not enough to stay another day, and we were ready a little early. And I said to Jack Schmidt, what's that game where I don't know, but the last words that were said on the moon, forget that, destiny stuff I said that no one ever remembers anyway. But what they do remember is I looked over to Jack, I said, "You ready?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "All right, let's get this mother out of here." That's what everyone remembers. But the point I want to make is when you fire that ascent engine to go up back to rendezvous with the mothership, you're no longer in control of your own destiny. Because there's nowhere to abort to. There's nowhere else to go. You have, this is a testimonial to the commitment and the dedication that those tens of thousands of people that Neil often refers to. A testimonial to their commitment that it was going to work. That everyone who went to the moon came home. Notwithstanding, we paid the price with Apollo 1, where we lost 3 guys before we ever got off the ground. But a real testimony of those people, that is, it worked. Everyone who went to the moon came home. And those are your aunts and uncles, your parents, your grandparents. Tens of thousands of them who were committed to what they were doing, just like you are, quite frankly. But you lift off, and you fire that engine. Oh, if the guidance goes bad, and you can fly, I could have got there with my eyes closed. But if the engine fails, redundant, backup valves, everything, if the engine shuts down, before you get to a point where you can sustain orbit, you're coming back down to the moon. You're no longer, that's the one point in my life where I felt I'm not, my control freakness was incapable of doing anything. In our particular case, we had to burn the engine 7 minutes and 14 seconds. If we burned 7 minutes and 7 seconds or less, we didn't make it. We came back home. Those were the margins we were playing with. And I just want to take you back there with me and tell you the kinds of things we were confronted with, because I've got to believe, and I've never been you've never been to the moon, and I've never been in your shoes. These are the test pilots. There's a combat pilot. I crawled under the fence. I sneaked into the space program when no one was looking. But I gotta believe those are the same kind of things you're confronted with in a job that you're doing. And so we really put our pants on one leg at a time, just like you do. We're really no different. And I just wanted to share that little bit with you guys and gals, because I don't know. I just believe that everything we do has a purpose, and you didn't come. We didn't go to the moon not to come home. You didn't come to Afghanistan not to come home. And so we share a common goal, common purpose.
Gene, take us back for just a minute to when you were on the moon.
Yep.
And you and Jack drove all over the place.
We covered
3 days.
that valley, 20 miles long, 5 miles wide. Man, we went in every nook and cranny, and the only reason we could do that was with the lunar rover. The biggest obstacle we had on the moon was the lunar dust. You stirred it up, 1/6 gravity, you kicked it, it just blew out everywhere, and to get all of our electronics was radiation cooled, and it just got in everywhere. It was bad stuff. And in the process of working around that lunar rover, it always looked like the Beverly Hillbillies, the land of Beverly Hillbillies pickup truck. We had everything loaded on it. No, not many people know we put a nuclear power plant on it. we put it on, it was about that big, and fueled a nuclear power plant on the moon to operate all the experiments we laid out there. And it operated for 10 years until NASA decided to shut it down. How about that? In the course of working around a lunar rover, old Clodfoot here, I put a big old geology hammer in my pocket. I moved around, and the lunar rover was folded up in a package. We unfolded it, assembled it, but the wheels had fenders, sort of telescopic fenders that slid over each other. They were lightweight, but they were to control that dust. Because if you lose a fender, like riding a bicycle without a rear wheel fender in the rain, what happens? Okay. And I knocked the fender off. Roadside assistance. I got a problem. Houston, I got a problem. Where was it when I really needed it? We fixed it. And the short end of that story is we fixed it very much like Jim fixed his problem on Apollo 13 with duct tape. Don't leave home without it.
That's the program. Ask these guys questions, because they could sit here, believe me, until this time tomorrow morning and mesmerize you with details that you have only begun to hear. Who's got questions of these three gents? Yes, sir.
I got a question. You three were all in the same Apollo program, just different times, different flights. Did you guys hang out together? You know, go to a sports bar, have a drink, tell stories?
That would be the O Club.
We went the whole, we never had one drink the whole time.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, I think everyone got to be a pretty close-knit community, and particularly when you were assigned to flights, you had 6, maybe 9 guys in some cases. You spent 6 months to a year and a half together. Neil and I used to share an office, and we were big stockbrokers at one time and lost our ass. We figured we'd just go fly to the moon.
Jim Lovell. Sir, why Apollo 13? Why did they name it 13?
Well, first of all, it's being a government agency,
But
yeah, we're not superstitious. We're not superstitious, so we have 13. Now, if you go back and look at the history of our space flights, when we started out with, of course, it went up to 17 with Apollo, then we started with Skylab. There were numbers that went high with Skylab. Then we started with the shuttle program, you know, STS-1, STS-2, STS-3. And as we approached 13, suddenly became 41G, 42, 3. So, but we're not superstitious, but you'll never find another 13 in any of our spacecraft.
Questions? Folks, yes, sir.
How tough was astronaut selection?
Selection process.
Selection
Yeah.
process.
Good question.
We made it so it could have been too tough.
I was on the very first selection. I'm an old timer. This is the Mercury program that Dave was talking about, you know, and it started out with 110 people. What happened was NASA went to the military. First of all, they're trying to figure out who to have as an astronaut. They said, how about stuntmen? You know, movie stuntmen, because they're used to this whole kind of thing. And, you know, how about people that are double amputees, because they don't need to use their legs, save weight. It was President Eisenhower said, why don't you take military test pilots? They had security clearances, some of the stuff in those days, we were still working with classified material. And so NASA went to the Navy and the Air Force, and they said, we need people with this criteria. We need people that had an engineering degree, that were graduates of a test pilot school, that were under the height of 6 feet, that were under the age of 35. And the last one, why I don't know, they had 1,000 hours of flying jet aircraft. And so the computers of the Navy and the Air Force kicked out 110 names. And then the NASA broke them up into groups of about 40, and they sent orders out to these 40 people, Air Force and Navy, to go to Washington, and this